Good morning, and welcome to the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Bonnie Rose. It's a joy to be here this morning on this beautiful day. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to pass the word to Lonnie, our board president.
Good morning, welcome. So glad that you all could join us today. And I'm glad that you're taking that time away from making that 7-layer bean dip for the Super Bowl, because maybe run to the store for some chips, but take the time for this service today because we embrace you in love, and it's just a great way to fellowship together. Welcome and enjoy.
Thank you, Lonnie. Thanks so much. Let's have Bill come forward. Bill is from our Youth and Family Department. He's going to speak to the child in all of us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Bill Hadris with Youth and Family. What does caring mean to you? How can you show that you care? Some people like to see that you care. Some people like to hear that you care. Some people like to feel that you care. Some like to feel that you care, and others only feel you care when they feel that you hear them. There are many ways to care. I challenge you, stop each day and consciously take a moment to start a caring epidemic. It's infectious. It only takes one person to start it. It only takes a few moments to look someone in the eyes, smile, and say, and I invite you to repeat after me, I see you.
I see you.
You matter in the world.
You matter in the world.
You matter to me.
You matter to me.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. It's beautiful. All right, and now I'm inviting our practitioner, Deborah Gibson. She'll come forth and she'll lead us in a beautiful prayer that will open our hearts and prepare us for this wonderful service we're about to experience.
Thanks, Bonnie. So will all the practitioners here and at home please stand? These are the people that are praying for you every day, and we're holding you all in consciousness right now. So knowing that God is the one presence, the one holy life, that is the river of golden energy pouring in and through and around you and me and all of life, all of this planet, all of the stars and the sun and the moon and the entire universe. We are all one. We are all one in this beautiful river of life, in Rumi's field, in that place of love and forgiveness and acceptance and wonder. So I know that I am one with this infinite presence, this infinite river of life. And I know that each one of you and all of us together are one with this river of life, this amazing life, this joy of the divine that is expressing itself in and through and around us every moment. And so just take this moment, take a deep breath in. Remember how great you are, how important you are to the person that you smile at, to the person that you open your heart to. Remember how great you are when you just take in the beauty of the sunrise and the sunset and honor life and God in that full expression of the painted sky. Just knowing that there is fun and joy in this moment, that there is beauty all around us. The redwood tree expresses itself fully in every moment. As the daisy bursts through the earth and blooms, it just is in its full expression. And so I claim and know that each and every one of us is in our full expression in every moment, in every day. So I take this moment for us to open to transformation, to oneness, to life, to a greater good than we have imagined before, as we take this short hour to be together, and as we take the eternity of our lives to be together. So I am just claiming a blessing on our beautiful Reverend Bonnie, who is in the flow of life and I am in deep gratitude for the wonder of who she is and her ability to open up to the divine and express it to us in a way that transforms our lives. I claim a blessing on our musicians who give us so much with their beautiful music, their full expression of life, that opening up to a greater understanding and a greater experience of our feelings, our hearts, and our minds. Claim a blessing on our sound team, our tech team, everyone who helped to bring this service together, including each one of us that is here. Just knowing that we are all in this flow of the divine. And I am so grateful for this beautiful life, so grateful to be here today, so grateful to have seen the beautiful sunrise this morning, so grateful for life itself and its full abundance and tenderness and oneness and joy. And I take my word, I place it into the law of mind, into the love of God, knowing that it is manifesting now. I let it go, and so it is. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Let us continue to breathe deeply as blessed and beloved Hugh comes forward to lead us in our sacred reading.
The Holy Bucket by Gopal Dada. A student approaches the teacher with a question. Could you help me with a question I've been struggling with? What is the purpose of my life? The wise teacher responds, we'll get to that in time. Until then, why don't you first fill this drum with water from the river down below this valley? He then hands him a dirty, greasy, mud-caked bucket with lots of little holes in it to use as a medium of transfer. The diligent student does as he's told. He walks all the way down the valley, fills up his holy bucket, walks all the way up to the drum that lays beside their shack. Deeply immersed in the act of doing the task, he doesn't notice how much water leaks through the holes. Days pass, months pass, and the drum is not yet to be filled. Frustrated and tired, the student approaches the teacher again. I've been filling this bucket for the past so many months, and the drum is nowhere closer to filling up. I don't know how I will ever find an answer to my question. With a kind heart, the teacher takes the student's hand and walks him down to the valley. The same path that the student took every day to fulfill his impossible task. Pointing to the beauty on the path, the teacher then explains, a few months ago, this was barren land. Now see, it is a blooming garden. Every day that you carried water in your leaky bucket, you didn't realize it, but you watered this land. Now you can see the spring of grass and flowers. Then he holds up the bucket and adds, when I first gave you this bucket, it was greasy, mud-covered, dirty inside and outside. Each time that you carried the water in it, a little of the dirt and grease got washed off. Without any further explanation, the student understood. The answer to his original question sprung forth from within his heart. I'm like that bucket, he said, with a purpose of filling the drum. I may not be able to see how I'm being cleansed or all the saplings I've accidentally watered, but someday a kind hand will help me see the blooming garden. I'll understand that every leak has its own divine purpose. Then I'll just act without regard for outcomes or purpose. I'll simply serve with joy.
And knowing that each of us is holy, holy in all the things that we do, whether we see the result or not. Let us breathe into that holiness, into that wholeness. Breathe in deeply. And then exhale, opening our eyes in love and in service to what is, as it is, and so it is.
Good morning, Ventura CSL. Hope you guys are well out there. Thanks for having me. We're coming up on a year of dealing with this thing together, and I'm sure we're feeling some limitations in different ways. And I hope this song inspires moving beyond those limitations in some way. This is called Stepping into the Great Unknown. Take these fears, I don't need them. I've already served them well. And take this foresight and this wisdom. There's nothing to teach me now. 'Cause the man I am is only half of what he'll be. Cutting my wings, but I'm still flying. Poison me with all these insecurities. Maybe lost, but I'm still trying. I'm stepping into the great unknown. My only road is a path I rode. Embrace a world that I've never known. And I'm finally free, yes. And if I change my emotions, the ways that I think and feel, and I can change my ambitions, and all that I thought was real, and the man I am will be twice of what is now. Cutting my wings, but I'm still flying. More I'll have for every piece you disallow. Maybe lost, but I'm not dying, no, no. I'm stepping into the great unknown. My only road is a path I rode. Embrace a world that I've never known. I'm finally free. And it feels like home.
Okay, one quick piece of business before we go into the talk here. I want to talk a bit about the flowers, the flower dedication. Today's flowers are dedicated to David Kerrigan from Mary. Happy birthday. May there be many more. Thank you. I'm a little limpy today. I told Lonnie yesterday that I was working on my dismount from the uneven parallel bars. And she said, "You mean your dismount from the couch?" Actually, yes. Yeah, I tripped over a blanket and hurt my foot. So anyway, last week I spoke about the idea of amplifying one's good, or amplifying the good. And it was in a talk that I did about liberation, where we were charged to amplify the good as a strategy for greater liberation. You know, when we see the good in everything, suddenly we become free. And I talked about how we can amplify the good in others, in the people that we encounter, even the people that are difficult. Last week I spoke about the persnickety service person that was rolling his eyes at me and mansplaining. When I amplified the good, our relationship shifted on the spot. We can also amplify the good in life. We can see that whatever is happening, there's a gift hidden in it somewhere. And as we amplify the good, we seek to find the gift. And if we seek it, we will find it, and then we get to receive it. Even in this pandemic, even in what the world has been like for the last year or more, we can still find the gift in that and amplify it and know that everything is here for us. We can amplify the goods in the holy buckets of existence, knowing that as things are happening, it may not seem that the results we want are occurring, but that there are flowers and trees and other metaphors being watered through our effort. I left out amplifying the good in one thing, and that is amplifying the good in ourselves. To live an amplified life, I think we also must amplify the good in ourselves. Now, if you're like me, you may have a chorus of voices in your head start saying, well, won't I get conceited? Won't I be arrogant if I do that? You might hear my mother's voice, if your mother said this, saying, don't get swell-headed now. If you had German relatives, you might hear it in German as well. Eigenlob stinkt. Stinkt, what a good word. It means stinks in German, in case you didn't catch that. Self-praise stinks. You may hear voices like that. You may have thoughts like that. But just because you're hearing it or thinking it doesn't mean that it's correct. It could be. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's wrong. That amplifying one's own good is a beautiful way to connect to something greater than ourselves, to connect to the truth that brings us home and sets us free. And ironically, as we amplify our own good, we become a source of greater good to the world, and we can see the good in others as we amplify our own good. It's not really that ironic. The reason is that there's only one of us here. So as we amplify our own good, we are amplifying the good of everyone. Here's why I think it's perfectly acceptable and not swell-headed or stink-like to amplify one's own good. I'm listening to a podcast by Father Richard Rohr, who is a Franciscan mystic, and it's a podcast that's based on his book called The Universal Christ. The book is called Christ is Another Name for Everything, and the podcast is called The Universal Christ. It's an excellent podcast. I highly recommend it. And he talks about how that the world for the last 2,000 years has been somewhat misguided in thinking that Jesus, the Christ, is the only one. He's clear about saying that Christ is not Jesus' last name, which is something that we say all the time in this denomination. Christ is not Jesus' last name. Christ means anointed. Anointed. And it's anointed is not a word that we use very often, but I would say it's to confer holiness upon. And yet, it was a term that was used commonly, so Jesus is not the only anointed one. Father Richard says that in the Franciscan tradition, they believe that the world, creation, nature, is the first Bible. I feel that way myself, that nature was my personal first Bible, and then came music, and then came physiology, and then came science, and all kinds of Bibles, the animal kingdom. All of these things feel like the Bible to me, and that's because everything is anointed. Everything is holy. That when the Big Bang happened, that's when the holy presence of Spirit entered into the world, into the seen world, and before that it was in the void, and then the void became form, and the form was the holiness of Spirit. Richard Rohr says that the anointing took place on an elemental level, meaning it's in the elements. Sometimes at night, when I can't sleep, I study the periodic table of elements. I'm sure many of you do the same, am I correct? No, I hear a big no over there. I just like looking at all the letters and seeing, all of these amazing facets of life that I hardly ever think of, but that are such a part of my life, really. When you think of the way we're made, going back to my life as a nurse, when you think that we have to have a certain amount of calcium in us and we have to have a certain amount of potassium, and let's talk about H2O, water. Oh my goodness. I mean, H is anointed, hydrogen is anointed, and O, water is anointed. And there's two molecules of water. I'm getting all excited now because I'm talking about science. What a big nerd I am. But there's two molecules of water of oxygen that go with hydrogen, and they make this life-giving thing called water. And let's not even start talking about the molecular bonds, okay? Because they're anointed too. And it's magnificent that we are anointed at that minuscule level. And so when we celebrate our anointing, when we celebrate the truth that we are anointed, we are celebrating the truth of the truth, that every single aspect of us, working from the smallest parts of ourselves, is anointed. Remember, the presence of God, the anointing of God, the holiness of God is elemental. It is in the elements. Of course, it's not only in us. It's in the rocks and the trees and the flowers and everything else, but it's in us too. We are not excluded from that party. And yet, we are so good at focusing on what is wrong with us, or what is apparently wrong with us. And we're so shy about talking about our innate holiness. I was speaking with somebody the other day about the Bible. And, we bless all paths to God in this teaching, and the Bible is one of many books that we bless. But I was speaking about the Bible in the context of fake news. Are you familiar with the term fake news? Anybody? And, what I've observed about fake news when people bring me things, or when I look at news that just gets my radar going, is that so often part of the construct of fake news is to take a little tiny aspect of a story and say that that's the whole truth. We take a little tiny fragment of a story and we say, this is the truth. There's nothing else in here, it's just this. This is the truth. When really there are many, many, many facets to every story. But you know what? I think that the Bible, and possibly other spiritual texts, I'm just much more familiar with the Bible because I was raised Christian. I think the Bible can be also used as a source of fake news. You think about your favorite passages, some of it's beautiful. Consider the lilies of the field. That Martha and Mary has chosen the best part to sit at the feet of the Christ. One of my personal favorites is when Martha tells Jesus, in response to him wanting to raise Lazarus from the dead, Martha says, "But wait, he stinketh." I'm paraphrasing, but the stinketh part is in there. And that's actually a piece of scripture that I quote regularly. I say it often to the dogs. You stinketh. Do not get in my car. You've been rolling in a dead seal. You stinketh. Another one of my favorite passages of the Bible, because it's comedic, and I don't know if it's church-friendly or not, but I'm going to tell it anyway, is when God gives the Philippines a bad case of golden hemorrhoids. I know I said Philippines. It's really the Philistines. I don't think the Philippines had been invented then, but, Philippines, Philistines, tomato, tomato, who cares? God gave somebody a really bad case of butt ache, and I just love the theatrics of that. I love the theatrics of, let's say there's what's his name? Bytidimus of Philistia. And he's walking down the street, he's just stolen the Ark of the Covenant, and he's having a good time, he's really proud of himself, and then all of a sudden he noticed that his sandal is untied, and so he bends over to tie his sandal, and then, what's this golden glow coming from my backside? Oh, God, you've got to be kidding me. You did not just give me a golden hemorrhoid. And I think it happened to a bunch of his friends too. But so, that's like one of my favorite parts of the Bible. I like the funny parts of the Bible. But, what if I said, okay, I met somebody who had never encountered the Bible, and I said, okay, this is what the Bible is about. It's this story about really bad BO from a dead person, and it's also a story about a guy who got a serious butt ache from God, a golden butt ache from God. And that's the whole thing. And I think we know that's not the whole thing, is it? There are many other beautiful parts of the Bible, some of which I've quoted already. You may have your favorite parts. And on the whole, the Bible, I believe, is a story about our evolving relationship with reality or God or whatever it is you want to call it. But if you choose to focus on one aspect of it, that will become your reality. And the point of all of this, the point of the golden, butt ache is that we do the same exact things with our life. We say, okay, I did this bad thing. I have this bad quality. I have this flaw. That must be who I am. That is exactly like, people, my friends, that is exactly like saying that the Bible is a book about golden hemorrhoids. So you got to stop that. You got to stop that. You know what? You got to stop it. We have to go ahead and start seeing the whole picture of ourselves. There's this beautiful quote from Brian Stevenson, who is an activist that I deeply admire, and he says, can you see that people are better than the worst thing that they've ever done? Can you see that you are better than the worst thing that you've ever done? Not even the worst thing that you've ever done. Can you see that you're better than the way you acted yesterday with customer service at Best Buy? Oh, that was me, silly me. We are so much more than we know. And the temptation here is to say, okay, this is good, this is bad, I'm going to be good all the time. That's not going to work. That is not going to work. I'm sorry to tell you, it's not that kind of a church. It's not going to work if we simply focus on our perfections. What we have to learn to do also is to embrace our flaws. We need to recognize that our perceived flaws are part of the picture of our holiness. I don't quite have a succinct way of saying that right now, but I know that it's true. I know that what we are perceiving as flaws come into being to serve all kinds of functions, like that holy bucket. They water something. Perhaps they water the compassion of another. Perhaps they water the forgiveness of another, that I can love this person despite the worst thing that she or he has ever done. Perhaps they help us understand that God in all of us can love us, not only in spite of our flaws, but because of our flaws, because we can see each other in a mirror and we can say, oh yeah, I do that too. That's just being human. This being human is a guest house, quoting Rumi. And we welcome everything. We welcome what we are calling good. We welcome what we are calling bad. We welcome what is in between. And we simply welcome all of it. Which makes me think that maybe the spiritual path, the spiritual truth in all of this is not so much about the accomplishment of perfection, but it's more about the process of welcoming. I think that's what we're called to do. That's how we amplify the good, is that we welcome everything and we bless our own humanity as we bless our own divinity. It's both. It's yes and it's all intertwined so that in truth it's really one. It's a tall order, but we can do it. We can totally do it. We have the support of this community that sees beyond the opposites, that sees beyond the appearances. And we all have our own lives, where we know that we've done something that has been inappropriate, or that we've been unkind, or that we've lacked compassion towards ourselves or towards another, and we find that we have forgiven ourselves, or that we are forgiven by somebody else. Some of the best things that have ever happened to me have been when I have been inappropriate and then been forgiven for it. And the forgiveness takes on a whole new tone if we can be mindful about what we have done and recognize our part in creating the adversity or the inappropriate behavior. That is a beautiful thing. And it's, we think that things like that, things where we acknowledge that we've been inappropriate, or where we acknowledge that we are flawed, or we acknowledge that we have fallen short, that things like that will cause us to have low self-esteem. But really, self-compassion is the new self-esteem. When we do that, we are cultivating self-compassion, which is much more fruitful and much more productive than self-esteem. It is self-compassion. Self-compassion gets us out of that place of polarizing and saying, this is bad and this is good. This will give me good self-esteem. This will give me low self-esteem. Self-compassion embraces everything. The other day, I got probably one of the nicest compliments I've ever gotten from somebody away from here. It wasn't any, well, I don't know if it was any of you, that person might be watching, but one of the nice compliments that I've ever gotten. And I remember saying to the person, that is quite a compliment. I hope I am worthy of it. And it wasn't from a place of feeling unworthy. It was from a place of excitement, of knowing, wow, this person has just opened a portal for me, something that I didn't see about myself, and now I can work ever deeper to expand that portal and be a place where that quality that he identified shows up more and more and more. So that's what I'm talking about. You see how nuanced it is. It's so much more nuanced than other forms of religion, even this religion, where we tend to polarize a bit and where we're affirming the good and denying the bad. It's all a jumble. It's all mixed in, and it's all part of the perfection, that anointing, that holiness that is God, that is love, that is everything. Often people want a practical tool, how to do the things that I speak about on Sunday, and really what works best is if you find your own way, if we find our own way to apply these principles. I'm not sure if you're going to like mine, because, I like the periodic table of elements from chemistry class. But sometimes when I'm down on myself, or when I'm feeling blue or low or feeling discouraged, I'll just start thinking about the various elements that are at play in my body. I'll think about, wow, my potassium is holy. It's doing whatever it's supposed to do with your heart. I can't remember right now. My calcium is holy. It's making my bones strong, and it's also part of cardiac function. And my H and my O, my H2O is holy. I've had the pleasure of being at an x-ray place one time, way back, long years ago, when I was in Pittsburgh seeing a chiropractor, and he took an x-ray, and it was a living x-ray of my skeleton, and I could see my sweet little skeleton moving around, and I'm like, oh my God, you're like my best friend, and I take you for granted. I don't even know that you're in there. So amplifying that good, amplifying the good of the physical, whatever it is. If you're not really into whatever what's it called, organic chemistry or whatever it is. I can't even think of the word right now. It shows how much I know. Or anatomy or physiology. Start with your knees. Say, I'm so grateful for my knees. I'm saying that because my knee hurts right now because of that launch off of the the couch. Just start with being grateful for the physical, that magic that made you. Again, so often when we look in the mirror, we look at the flaws and we see what's wrong with us, but look how much is right with us. Look how much is beautiful about us. And if you can't see it on the outside, see it on the inside. I guarantee you, even if you are unhealthy, there are trillions of processes that are working magnificently within you to create harmony and wholeness. And then we extend that grace, that amplification of good, to our heart and to our thoughts and to the way that we relate to people. The reason that our indiscretions or our flaws stick out so much is because they're the anomaly. They're the anomaly. The rule is that we, most of the time, I would imagine, are quite kind to others, that we show up, that we do our best, that we consider the greater whole, and that we are striving together or relaxing together into a world of wholeness and grace and compassion for everyone. And so acknowledge the times that we have been successful at doing that. I know I completely overlook that most of the time. But many, many micro kindnesses occur in each of us every single day. It might be feeding the dog. It might be feeding the rabbit. It might be feeding the guinea pig. Oh, again, that's about me. It might be cooking a meal for your children. It might be driving someplace. It might be smiling at somebody. All of these micro kindnesses. Let's focus on that. Let's not make the Bible about the funny, silly parts. Let's make the Bible of our body and our self and our being about the grace and the wonder that we are. I think it's starting this week. Starting on Thursday, I'm teaching a class on devotion. It's a priceless pricing class, and it's on Zoom, and there's minimal homework. It's mostly a class about introspection. And if you want some group support in some of these principles that I'm talking about, we would love to have you in the class. You sign up on Eventbrite or on our website. And really what we're looking at is some of the false agreements that we've made about who we are and what we're here to do. And then taking that courageous step to say, you know what, this isn't the whole truth. Let's let go of our negative bias for just a moment. Let's let go of our confirmation bias that seeks evidence to tell us who we think we are. And let's move into this greater perception of wholeness that shares with us, that already knows, and that amplifies within us the fact that we are anointed, the fact that we are anointed, that we are holy, and we are the grace of God in living form. I'm going to close with one quote from Emma Curtis Hopkins, who has been part of my world lately. She was one of Ernest Holmes' teachers. And the quote is this: "When you amplify the good, when love is your confidence, you will never find yourself deceived by the ways and speech of others, even yourself. Even if these people think they are very brilliant." They're not brilliant. You are the brilliance that you are seeking. We are the brilliance that we are seeking. And once we start to seek, we find. Let's find it together. Let us pray. And so I turn within to trust and know the power and the presence of the life that is God, that beautiful life that anointed all of us, that is anointing us constantly as we move through this process called living, as we move through this process of loving, as we move through our joys and our sorrows, our strengths and our perceived weaknesses. We know that it is all God, it is all good, it is all the perfection that is inclusive of imperfection. It is all the grace, it is all the power, it is all the glory, it is all the love. And so today, together, we recognize that, we see that, we know that for ourselves, we call it into our being because it is already there. We just raise our awareness of it and we identify with it. Rather than pushing it away with our thoughts, rather than holding it at bay, we identify with this truth. We identify with this knowing, with this grace that is who we are right now. And so I know that living from this place of anointed grace, living from this place of holiness, I know that our lives move forward from this place, that we have new relationships with everything and everyone, that we see the good in ourselves and we amplify it, and we see the good in others and we amplify that as well, that we see the good in the world, and through amplification, the world becomes the way in which we see it. And so I'm so grateful for this truth, so grateful for this teaching, so grateful for this love that is, so grateful for everyone here today, so grateful for all of the transformation, all of the beautiful holy buckets that are dripping their light and their love on the world, watering the earth, watering one another. And so grateful for all paths to God. Churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, ashrams, fundamentalists, atheists. I bless all of them. I welcome all of them. And with a heart that is so filled with gratitude and love, I release these words into the divine mystery, and together we say, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Bonnie. a few insights, inspirations, some of the highest comedy I've ever seen in a church. This song I like to play kind of where there's still some of that New Year's energy. It's an oldie but a goodie, so wherever you are, feel free to hum along. I can see clearly now, rain is gone. I can see all obstacles that are in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny year. Look all around, there's nothing but blue sky. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue sky. I can see clearly, now the rain is gone, it's gone, it's gone. I can see all obstacles that are in my way. Oh, gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Okay, so few quick announcements for you. This Wednesday, the kindness meditation is at 6:30 p.m. and it's on Zoom. Peter Frank facilitates that, and you can get all the information on our website, which is www.VenturaCSL.org, and that'll have the Zoom link as well. And then I'm starting a class that I mentioned in the service. It's called Devotion, and it's 4 Thursdays. And it's 6:30 to 8:30-ish. It won't be any later than 8:30, let's put it that way. It's on Zoom, and there's information for that and pre-registration on the website on the classes page. It's going to be fun. Love to have you there. The Essential Ernest Holmes class is starting soon. This is taught by Jennifer Gadberry-Hadras, and it's 8 Tuesdays, March 9th through April 27th at 6:30 through 8:30 via Zoom. It's you can also check that out on our class registration page, website classes page. Just so you know, if you are intending to become a practitioner, this is one of the classes that you are required to take, so you want to jump on that and sign up for it. And then our annual meeting is coming on Sunday, February 28th, and that's going to be on Zoom, and we'll send you more details about how to sign up for that soon. We are also planning an online silent auction, and so start thinking about some fun stuff that you can donate. More details on that soon, too. And then after the service, you get to pray, if you like, with one of our beautiful practitioners on Zoom. As I speak, somebody is posting the link in the Facebook comments right now, and you can go ahead and click on that, and you'll be sent into a private room and receive an amazing, beautiful prayer from one of our fantastic practitioners. So I think that's all I got. It's great to have you with us this morning, and we will see you virtually very soon. Let's pray. Okay. So turning within, we just celebrate this time together, knowing that we have been joined in heart and mind and being. And even though we're not all in the same physical space, we know that in spirit there is no distance. And so this circle of grace and the circle of love extends beyond any barriers that we might fathom in our minds. And we are all contained in this circle of goodness. We widen that circle in our hearts, and we contain those who are not present, and we contain the entire world and the universe and the animal kingdom and the flowers and the elements and all of these beautiful things that have been made holy, anointed by Spirit. I'm just so grateful for this sacred time together, so grateful for the transformation, and so grateful for the way that our center is unfolding right now, even in these challenging circumstances. It's just a beautiful thing to be part of. And so in the spirit of the grace of that community, the spirit of this shared adventure, I wish everybody well, a beautiful week, a week of love, a week of amplifying your good and the good of others, a week of seeking the gift in the world all around us. And with a heart that is so filled with that goodness, I say thank you, Spirit, thank you, love. May we go in peace. And I release these words into the divine mystery. And together we say, and so it is.